I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to another episode of Radical Christianity, the talk show that highlights God in action. I am Drew, your host, and it is awesome to have you here with us. We all know about M&Ms, right? The candy-coated chocolate that melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Have you ever wondered what those letters stand for? No, it is not Marshall Mathers. It actually stands for the last names of the original creators of the company, Mars and Murray. Well, apparently one local Christian club for elementary school students has taken to telling the children it stands for Mighty Missionaries, which has ruffled the feathers of some parents in that district. What led to this kerfuffle over truffles? Well, according to reports, the Good News Christian Club that meets on campus after school has been seen promising students packs of tantalizing M&Ms in return for bringing a friend to the next meeting. Hey, are we talking fun-size packs here or what? I mean, this could be pretty lucrative if we're talking king size. It could even fund a whole black market at recess if someone brought enough friends. Hey, have you guys heard of the new hybrid cow that produces chocolate milk for the schools? It's called a cacao. I kid. Like many other organizations, the club rents out space after hours at the school and is permitted to distribute flyers to students. But it is not affiliated with the school district. Some parents have complained that the club does not belong at school, while the club points out that kids cannot participate without a permission slip from parents. Public school, where you need parental permission to join a prayer group, but not to change your gender. What's a chocolate bar's pronouns anyway? Hershey. This was the club's first meeting at Star Elementary since COVID, and their attendance is down, so I can see why they've used candy as an incentive. Isn't that something most clubs and even classrooms do? Should they be feeding the children manna and communion wafers instead? No juice to drink today, children, only holy water. What's next? Canceling Girl Scouts for recruiting members with their delicious cookies? Well, chocolate does have caffeine in it, so should we cancel chocolate at school altogether? It would mean more recess for the grown-ups. No. You know, I did give up chocolate for Lent once. It was a very rocky road. Then, of course, the time I was looking for a laugh when I told one of my jokes to a candy bar. But all I got was Snickers. All right, everyone, enough silliness for now. You tell me, you rad for Christ? You fired up for Jesus? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, got a special treat for you. This guest is really important to me, so I hope you enjoy this interview. So let's have a huge warm welcome for Leona Garzelli. Woo!
Oh my gosh.
Hey. Please have a seat.
It's wonderful to be here.
Welcome. So, welcome to Radical Christianity.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Well, we've actually been trying to get you on the show for a while.
Long time.
It's kind of crazy because no one watching right now has any idea how this friendship started. Because initially we had a guy who was volunteering on the show recommend you as a guest because you go to the same church.
Yes.
And so I reached out to you then. And you were all like, well, I got these movies that I'm working on, and we will someday do it. And I'm like, okay, well, when you get that movie done, we'll try and get you back on the show. And then we reconnected because I was cast in your movie, and neither of us knew that we were making that connection.
Yeah, it was so ironic.
Yeah.
But I did tell you that I thought both of the movies were connected. So my journey with it, I felt was... Once the second movie was being edited, then it would be a great time to meet with you.
Cool. Well, you know, we'll definitely dive into that. Okay. But the way we do things on this show, we kind of have a little pattern where we start with testimony, then we talk about mission and projects and stuff like that. Okay, so please share with us how you met Jesus.
Well, I met Jesus, I honestly believe, in the womb, instinctively, trying to survive, trying to get there. And then, of course, my parents were Christian. I was baptized as a baby, and you just have this knowing as you're growing up, or at least I felt like I did. And I think everybody does. We just don't know it. We're so young. But in all the different experiences, when I think back as a child, I didn't behave all the time, and I always got in trouble. And then I was corrected, and then I'd go to church, and then I'd learn a lesson, and that's where I knew Jesus was really real, because I couldn't get away with anything. He had me on that path, and then I had people surrounding me, friends, my family, who all believed. So that's how I met him. Yeah, and I keep meeting him, and I keep learning, and I honestly don't think it ever ends.
Yeah.
I think it just keeps going.
So how has Jesus been working in your life, from birth to current?
Actually, he's in many, many ways. I'm 74 now. So I could go back and I can tell you all kinds of stories. But I believe he has tried to help me do his work. Like he asked us to help me get people to know me. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy. And I think that's how he probably used me. He put me in those positions of where I thought, what am I doing here? I'm not skilled to do this. But he got me through it. And,
it's funny how God kind of works that way, right? Like he will put people in positions to do something very important that have no qualifications or skill set so that he can take all the credit.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And, I really didn't understand that I was, with the gifts that he gives us, we gift him back with that glory and love and how we live our lives. And I finally, I think in my middle years after, I'm not a saint, but going through all these different experiences, I got retired from my profession as a nurse. And I sat down one day and I thought, okay, I'm here, I'm 65. Dear Lord, what have I done for you? Everybody, I think, does this. And even before retirement, probably, they all think about when they want a relationship or they have a relationship with Christ. And I even think those who don't know Christ do these things. They sit down and wonder what their life worth is. Do I have any hope for anything more? Mm-hmm. And being a Christian, we have hope just because we are Christian, because we know where he is or that he's in our lives. It's just that family, that unity that he gives us, a feeling I really can't explain it, but that unity. But anyway, I thought, okay, I would just ask him, is there anything you want me to do? And I'll do it the best I can, but you're going to have to do it mainly. I'll be there. I'll be the tool. All the things you learn when you're growing up, mm-hmm. Let him work through you, whatever. It's not easy. So I was nervous because when I was always taught, if you ask him something, look out, because he's gonna definitely take you to places you've never been. And I heard movie, and I thought, well, I always was interested in drama. I did take that in junior high. I wrote a play when I was in third grade. Had fun with that. And had, same thing in high school, just fun. And always, everybody wants to be behind the camera, when you grow up, being a Mouseketeer or whatever. But to actually be a movie star, no. And he led me into nursing. Mm-hmm. And so I learned a lot about human behavior and people and love for family, lots. You learn a lot of that.
Well, I imagine you learned a lot about human behavior as a nurse. I mean, because you see people at their worst, their most desperate, where they have nothing but, fear and anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And so after retirement, I decided I'd take a class at Carolyn DeVore's studio just for fun. And
Yeah, I miss Carolyn. She was awesome.
yeah, she was very gentle, genuine woman. And I had fun with that, learned a lot, met some very good people. And I thought, hey, okay, Lord. So I drew from my past and I drew from my experiences. And I thought, okay. And then I got these thoughts about, let's take something of an experience that you had in the hospital or in your nursing. So I did. And I wrote a story that wasn't true to the characters, but it was a true life experience that I drew from all different types of patients. So the first movie deals with donation, organ donation. But it's really about two women losing their children, their loved ones. And that's something that we all have in common with stress, is the loss of a loved one. We're never prepared for that.
Right.
But these two women meet in an emergency room, waiting room, and then it goes from there.
Now, has that movie been released?
Yes.
Is it a short film, right?
I made it in 2017. And
so it's on YouTube or anything? Or?
It's on YouTube. It's called Gift from the Heart, but it's also it's being sold at Cotter's Religious Goods here in town.
Oh, okay.
Very cheap because it's only 20 minutes. So it's an amateur movie, very amateur, but it has a good storyline. And we did well in 3 film festivals, and I was very honored to one in Rome, Italy, that we were one of the top 3 best short films. And I was even told by some of the judges, we know it's amateur, but the storyline we loved. And they even encouraged me to take it even further. But as you know, that takes resources and monies and whatnot.
It does. It takes a lot.
Yeah. And there are other films out there that are, 1.5 hour long feature films that have the same type of storyline of giving, donating, your heart or something to an individual, and very good films. So that story is out there, but I was very happy. And the interesting thing was, I'm not boasting, and I'm not giving myself any credit, because I credit it all to Christ, because he had a message. He has a message of, we're not alone in our sufferings. And there is compassion out there. That when it comes, and the movie doesn't really tell you to make a choice one way or the other. It's not bad if you don't donate your organs. It's not, it's up to you.
There's no agenda in the movie.
Yes, right? There's no right answer there. It's how you feel, respectfully. But the experiences of all the pain and the suffering that goes on both sides, from the donor's family to what they experience when they're being told your loved one's brain dead and we can't bring them back, and to when it's happening, to when we're taking the machines off. To we nurses weren't taking care of just this person now. We were taking care of their family and all their loved ones, their friends. And it's a beautiful experience, because you really tap into their Christianity, or even if they don't believe in God, or if they've been struggling with their faith. And it doesn't matter what faith it is. They all bring something to the table to share with you, and to be able to help them. We have that one language in love through Christ, and it works.
Yeah.
Love defeats all. It really does. And then you have the recipient, and they might not meet the family. It's up to both parties whether they do. But I got a chance to meet a recipient one time where I took care of the donor, but she didn't want to meet the donor. She, very young, but you could see her suffering, that someone died for her. But then again, I told her, look at the love coming from this other family, too, for you. So then they connect, and that's, but then again, it's not wrong that she doesn't. It's just where she's at that time in her suffering and what she needs to do now. And she's got a lot to think about, a lot to learn, and hopefully survive. She's still had a struggle. So, yeah, that's where this movie stemmed from, I believe. I believe Christ was saying, we are all one body, one in me. And you're not going to make any mistakes if you sacrifice anything, any part of you. And it doesn't have to be your body. It can be your gifts, any gift that he gave you. Or, and I notice nowadays, if you walk down the street or on the sidewalk, some people are very much focused into themselves.
Most people seem like nowadays are like only focused in themselves.
Yeah. And I don't begrudge them that. I'm just, I remember in the 50s and 60s growing up, you'd wave or smile or say something. We didn't have the cell phones. We didn't have the electronics taking us into another.
Yeah, cell phones did kind of create, not just cell phones, but the whole internet system. And, that it did kind of create a separation from person to person.
It did. Yeah. I know. Even when I go to church, when I saw a person with a cell phone during the celebration, the Mass, my first thing, I was like, oh my gosh, oh no. But then I found out later, they had the Mass on the cell phone. I guess you can, there's an app.
Right.
You can go on and follow the prayers and whatever, the gospel readings and everything. So I thought, oh God, okay, Lord, I judged somebody. I thought bad about somebody, shame on me. But there was a lesson for me to, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you were equating it to like what the common thought would have been. Like, the thing the visual image that I use in my mind to like see how it's really kind of working out is when you have a family around the dinner table, and instead of talking to each other, they're all on their phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here they are. They're like 2 feet from each other, and they're just on their phones at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I'm like, that it's crazy because when it's like there was a time when families would just eat at the table, and they would have that dynamic. You know what I mean? And there'd be that closeness, and then even at school, you would have like the big cafeteria, and you would sit down, and you would be bored if you just sat there and ate alone. People think there was something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So everybody would be engaging pretty much.
Yeah.
And then there would be people that would have their own little cliques, and there are people that would do their own thing, obviously, because they wanted to read during their lunch or whatever. But I mean, it was more of a engaging environment. Now people just kind of go into their phone, and they just kind of stay in their own little worlds, and they want to get in their own little bubbles. Even with like politics these days. I mean, politics wasn't always like it is now.
No.
I remember. I would say that it was right when the time when Clinton got elected that things kind of started really going askew. Kind of really crazy. Which you'd have to be old like me to remember.
Well, hey, I've been there with many different presidents.
But it was. I mean, that's when when it really started getting like divisive. I mean, it was always divisive. There was always like that, but there was that you could tell that there was always some kind of camaraderie. They can get things done. They would work together across the aisle, and then it started back then. A little bit more division, and then cycle after cycle, it got worse and worse and worse to a point now to where it's like. It's like you get two choices, this choice or that choice, and it's not like they blend or cross over very much.
I know. We didn't have a lot of, it was like we had nothing in common.
Well, the term liberal Republican is basically unheard of now.
Yeah.
But there were liberal Republicans. There were conservative Democrats, and and all kinds of spectrums in between.
Yeah.
And now it's like the Republican Party has a term called RINO, RINO, which Republican in name only. And it's like, how is that even a thing? I mean, it's just.
Well, there you go again. Jesus said, I want you to be one in me. But everybody's going their own way, even though the apostles even had trouble accepting what he had to say and trying to understand it, being from, being Jewish and their practices and Moses' law, right, Mosaic law. But they still he was trying to say, it's okay. You're thinking this, but I'm telling you there's a way for us to all get together, all be one. And I just got these certain things I want you to do. And they're, these commandments, and start there. But what did he say? Just focus on me. And it's true.
Yeah.
True. We've experienced the experiences you had, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know how complicated they would have been at the time, but Jesus' teachings are actually pretty simple.
They're simple.
You know what I mean? The parables might be a little confusing to draw the conclusion out of some of them, if you don't know what to do,
Yes.
But it was love your neighbor as yourself. And he called it the 11th commandment.
How simple,
you know what I mean? It's like you can do all the commandments if you just love your neighbor like you love yourself.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, well, that seems pretty simple. Yeah. The whole, if you want to lead, you must first serve. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people will associate in their mind, oh, we all have to do the same thing. If it's, and the truth of the matter is that's not the case.
Yeah.
If we were all to do the same thing, then we'd all be built the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So if you're trying to fit into God's will as a leader, then if you're going to be in a leadership role under God's umbrella, you might say, you definitely need to approach it as a servant.
That's true. That's true.
But and he was teaching them that, love. This is all about
Yeah.
it can be simplified. But obviously it's very nuanced and depending on where you want to go.
Right.
So but I always tell people it's not about the same thing for everybody.
No, it's not. And but that's what makes life even interesting. The differences that we have. It definitely makes it for good theater and stories and lines. That just keep us enjoying life. But it's that dark side that tries to creep in and tries to make Jesus's teachings, let me get to them a little bit. Let me get under their skin a little bit. And I can change them by just tweaking some words, like you said, politically, and put it on media, just get somebody to think a little different. And there again, what I mean is, so we have cell phones. Mm-hmm. Okay, great invention.
Right.
That cell phone is becoming a friend to many people. They want to belong. People who are loners, they're not evil people. They're just more, I'm just a person who likes to be alone. So to them, it's a friend. Mm-hmm. But it's how you treat that friend and how you let that friend treat you. There you go. We go back to the basics that Jesus taught us. Love one another as you love yourself. But this is an object also. But there are people's words in there. Now you got to use your spiritual intellect, that wisdom that God gave us. And we aren't all wise.
No.
There's not. So then we get wisdom from one another. Jesus works in you, gives you a great talent. I can learn from you. He's given that to you, and you give him thank you. And that's one thing that I noticed. If I did something and I did this, I never felt really rewarding myself because I'm human. Mm-hmm. But when I started remembering him, thank him, bring him in, you want a relationship with God, you have to talk to him, you have to bring him in. And once I started giving glory to him, and I said, I want to do all this for you, and I said, this movie's yours. This isn't a movie, it's a ministry, sort of.
Well, speaking of
but
movies,
it's true.
Yeah, so
it's not Hollywood, it's heaven.
Right.
So everything to him, and oh my God, your world, things go so much, I want to say easier, but we get more. Then he handles, okay, she handled this, now I'm going to give her more to deal with and to learn. And
yeah, he'll never give you more than you can handle.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he will give you more than you think you can handle.
Yeah. You think, yes, it's true. You do start thinking that. And the one thing I learned in nursing and with people that were dying and that is that it's universal. Death is universal. We're all going to die.
Well,
right? And we're
I don't
meet.
know. I have a joke, you could say, but it's also kind of something that is another way to look at things. It's like, I mean, just because everybody's died up to this point doesn't mean it's going to happen to everybody. I mean, it's really only happened to about half of us.
Well, yeah, and if we truly believe in Christ that I can live as old as Moses. I'll live as old as Moses, but who really wants to get?
I don't know about that.
But I mean, if you have that much faith,
right.
And for some reason you are.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would say that the science is different. People lived older because of the food and the air and the different things. But I just like to be a little facetious with it. You know what I mean? To make people think.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, we don't know how that's going to work out in our own life. We don't know. And all we can do is focus on the day, think about tomorrow, let yesterday go away, learn from it, and let it be.
Yeah.
Because we all make mistakes, little ones, big ones.
Yeah.
Unintentional ones, intentional ones,
Yeah.
We're just human beings.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
We have no greater power, of our own. The great power that we have is the spirit that God blesses us with, and it's not something that we can control or wield like it's the Force in Star Wars. It's it's we just have to let God use us and make ourselves available. It's simple as that.
And that's where that you're yourself God from political influences or wherever they're coming from. It's so dangerous. It's not even, we don't have power over each other's souls. There's no such way. And death, and life, birth, and death show us that. We don't.
It is absolutely the epitome of arrogance to think that you can control even your own environment.
Yeah.
You can the only thing you actually have control over are your choices.
Right.
That's the one thing at all.
Yes.
Out of everything you have control over, only your choices.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out like you want.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I hoped that it was going to work this way, but it didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, that the security that exists from feeling like you're in control, you know what I mean? That, a lot of people, is their God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of just giving control to God and trusting God, You know what I mean? They need to have control because they don't want to trust God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember back in the 70s, there were these new words that were coming out for women. They wanted a lot of independence. They wanted empowerment. They didn't want to be controlled. And to be assertive. Okay.
And
Not bad words.
No,
we all want those things.
But we also got to at the same time look at the bigger picture.
We have-
The 70s exploded divorce rates.
Oh, yeah.
By the time the 80s came
Another
around,
stressor.
it even exploded even further.
Yeah.
You know, the American family first was the American family first. Now it's worldwide. Just collapsed.
Yeah.
Where you get women saying, "I don't need a man." Men don't say that. Men don't go around saying, "I don't need a woman." You know what I mean? They're more like, "How am I going to find the right woman?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But women are like, "I don't need a man."
Yeah.
It's like I got my own job. I got the police I can call. What do I need a man for?
So being a woman, I understand what women are talking about. I my mother had to go to work. I saw that. And I saw women not getting married. Myself, I've never been married.
Never?
No. I've had opportunities. I've been asked to be married. But it's just never happened. So I accepted the fact that Jesus did say, or Scripture does say, that there will be single people. And that in itself can be a blessing. And today I do look back and say, okay, I have been blessed in so many other ways. So it's not, but I didn't make myself a goddess, and I'm not saying that women do that. It's just I kept focusing on Christ and why the whys. But I believe that there was just this search, and there was for hope in being more authoritative, which that was the man's role. But here we've got women have different interests in life. And the world was challenging for them in many ways. But look way back in the ancient times, look at there were many women in Scripture that had power and who were struggling. And the man was the authoritative figure who protected the family. He was meant to bring in the needs, all the needs that the family had. He was to provide for that, the provider, the protector.
Because he couldn't have children.
Yes. And the woman was also a provider and a protector, just in a different way.
Yeah,
the nurturer.
Right.
And keeping everybody's,
and providing support to the
well-being.
man so that he can go out and do what he has to do, right?
Yes. So there's a beautiful role on both sides.
There's a phrase I heard a lot when I was younger that I never hear anymore. Behind every great man is a even greater woman. Right?
Yes, you do hear that.
I almost never hear it anymore, but I used to hear it all the time when I was younger.
I don't think women were giving themselves a lot of credit. And then maybe I'm wrong. I think the approach could have been different for them, because Jesus certainly elevated women in his ministry. They helped him, gave them many blessings, and they loved him dearly, I don't know, I wouldn't even know what to think if I was back in that time talking to these women. I'm sure they were very confused at times, but I think by being with him in his presence, he saw free will as something, it wasn't being chained down to an obligation that was struggling, like family is not being chained down. It's a gift, and it does fulfill a person if that's what they want. Being single, I'm feeling fulfilled, but more so in what God has asked me to do. I'm fulfilling myself in Him. And so, there again, they need, I guess I'm at a loss for words right now, but because I don't want to answer for every woman, but I honestly think womanhood is an honor. And I never really was a feminist, you know, but I understand the sufferings that women go through.
I find it interesting that the definition of feminism has changed. I mean, because like initially, like in the late 70s, early 80s, feminism was women can do anything a man can do. It's equal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
And then now it's like women. The feminist idea is that women need to be dominant, and I'm like, what happened to the old way of thinking? Where it's like it's cool if you want to try and be equal, no problem, right?
Yes,
you know?
and a lot of that came from pay when they started getting out in the workforce.
Right.
But they were in the workforce, always, and in World War II, World War I,
Right.
World War II, mainly because men were going to war.
Oh yeah.
And they had to get in there, and they could do it. And they did a lot. And yes, they did a lot of things that men would have had to do.
And those jobs went back to men when men came back for the most part.
Yes,
Yeah.
and God love them. They have the hormones to get in there, the estrogen that really look at childbirth alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's an amazing feat and blessing, but it's almost as if, I don't know, you're right, it's almost as if to be female was to be weak, and it's not. You know, well, I got the chance with this first film to go to Rome for the festival. And so I went around, did some touring, the Colosseum. Drew, I tell you, when you stand before that building and you know what went on in there, all the killing, even of, you know, people, animals, but they did have political conferences there, the whole conventions, the whole thing, celebrations, whatever. But I walked in that front door, and when I went out and we were shown the actual, I guess I'm going to call it a stage, but it's the grounds, there was the cross, a big cross. And apparently that's where the emperor used to sit. And I thought, oh my God, now there sits the cross. He says, nothing can abolish me, nothing. And it's right before our faces, it's right there. And then you could feel the coldness and the sadness. And I tried to imagine, you know, men and women, especially the Christians that were brought there, and what they must have been thinking, or were they on their knees praying, or what the suffering that was going on.
Oh yeah, there was in the Colosseum a lot of Christian suffering.
Yes,
Yeah.
so,
I mean,
but I looked
crazy
out,
stories.
Yeah, but there it was, that cross, and nothing can defeat him. And I would hope that everybody would embrace our God. Just embrace him. He's the link up with him. You know, he's the best website there is.
Yeah, the biggest reason that I can figure out that most people intentionally deny God, I've often said this, and I get crazy looks when I say it. It's like it takes more faith to be an atheist than it does to be a believer.
They do have
because you have to. I mean, because there's so many things around the world that there's so much evidence of God in just existing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To deny the obvious evidence that's right before your face because you don't understand it. You can't have science can't prove it to you. But that is part of the evidence. You know? Uh-huh. But they just want to deny it, and it takes more faith to deny it than it does to believe it.
Yeah.
So it drives me crazy, you know? It's just people are so against God. And I think the biggest reason that I've discovered why people choose that is because their desire to have control. They do not want to have to live the way that they feel it would mean to be. You know what I mean? Like people don't want to have to love their neighbor.
Yes.
They're like, I want to hate this guy. I don't want to love him. I hate him. So I'm just not going to bother. You know what I mean? Or other elements, you know, that drive them crazy. You know? I mean, and I would say that social progresses, you know, like we talked about, like, you know, the whole feminist movement and that kind of stuff has done its own level of tearing down the level of faith in this country. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, here's the thing. It's like, it's been statistically proven that if a man takes his family to church, right, that it's most likely that his son, especially, of course, the daughters, will also continue in the church. And, you know, they will have more full, complete, and better lives and this kind of stuff. I mean, it's statistical. But the breakdown of the family first pushes the man out. And then the man without the family is less likely to come back to church, right? So by destroying the family, right, you also attack the church. You know what I mean? And you have, I mean, because you think, I mean, I wasn't around in the 50s, but in the 50s, most families went to church.
Yes, most families did. They did. I know my father was a very good father. Did very well. He was a farmer. Now, he would go to church for funerals or special occasions, wedding anniversaries. But he made sure we went, my mother, but he never went every Sunday. So I would say, Dad, you know, why aren't you going with us? I see other farmers at church. And I used to worry about him, but he told me, well, I've got a relationship with God, but I was still after him a lot. So I left him alone. But when he did pass away, they found a cross in his pocket. And so I knew he was praying to God, but I didn't see my dad actively, going to church. And I wished he would have gone more, but at least I know he believed, and his actions, what he did for us as a father, and I knew he loved us. But Drew, I have, out of 7 kids, my younger siblings were telling me, yeah, but you older ones were forced to go. But when Mom went to work, it kind of, that weakened that going to Sunday Mass. And they're believers, they are. But it was different, a different formation. So you're absolutely right. Take 1 hour, take 2 hours on a Sunday. What is that? He did 6 days to create the world, and he took 1 day off to say, give it to me, rest, and relax. And health studies show that just that 1 day of rest, even for our minds, it's so healthy, and we definitely have more energy. Try it out, because I've done it, and I really have more energy than I had, because I just relax, and then I go to church, and I just enjoy that day. He said to do it. It must be right. There's something to it, and so I'm going to try it.
So before we run out of time, let's talk about the other movie.
Oh my gosh! We've gone from the other movie. Well, I can't tell you a lot because we're going to disclose that to the audience, and then
we don't want to do any spoilers.
We don't want to spoilers. But there again, this is it's based off of a true story. But it there again touches back with not a politics, as you're saying, trying to change the thinking points of women mainly, and it has with men. And but it's about love. That's really what the movie's about, is love between a couple that just met and they're falling in love between a father and a son, love between 2 sisters who were close, very much alike, but not, and a bit estranged from each other, and love between a mother and a child.
Well, you did. Luckily, I was in this movie. So
he was in this movie.
So I've seen the script.
Yes, you've seen the script,
and there is definitely a lot of. I can see the love theme in almost every character dynamic.
Every character dynamic, there's love. Yeah, and it's true to life in the fact that there again, just like the first movie, love defeats all. And in many people's sufferings, love is really the best remedy. Having that hope, getting hope, and we seek that in each other too. You know, and I have characters in there that they're not practicing Christians. They've heard of God. You know, most of them. And then there's one that is religious. That's a friend. Two guys are best friends, and one becomes more of a religious, and the other one's
more of a religious. He's a priest.
Yeah, he's a priest. Yeah, and and the personalities you can identify with. People can say, "Oh, I've been there. I've done that," and so.
And so what's the title of the movie?
The Presence of Eve.
Okay. And do we want to get too into it? We don't want to do any spoilers, so we'll stay away from the spoilers. But it kind of revolves around these two sisters who are dealing with an issue around an abortion.
Abortion, yes. Yes.
I don't want to do any spoilers.
I know. I'm so prone to just keep chatting and talking and whatever. I'd love to tell everybody about it, but I want to wait until it actually comes out.
Yeah, we're gonna
present.
We're gonna hype it a lot, on this show, obviously.
Yeah, you'll get a copy.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get the director to come on soon.
Oh yeah, James Flores. Thank God for James.
Yeah,
what a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he did a good job. He really kept things moving forward, moving at a fast. Everything was a very professional environment. It was great.
He did, and everyone got along. I loved every person that was a part of it.
Well, a lot of friendships were built in that.
A lot of friendships, yes. It had a slow beginning. There was a whole different cast, pretty much. Mark McPherson and Jim Tuck were the only ones that came forward with me on that, but it was tough at first because we had filmed, and then we had issues where we had to edit or add or whatever, and then people had to move. Health issues came up with other family members, then I had to get another filmmaker because the filmmaker moved to Los Angeles. So I just said, okay, Jesus, this is your film, and we'll see how it goes. And he kept bringing it together, and it's getting there. Yeah, James is now editing.
Do we have a timeline of when the edit will be ready?
Still not. We were looking at November, but now we were thinking about spring. But I told James he's so busy. He's got other projects, but he's made the rough draft. But now he's asking me to meet with him so we can do another draft. We've got a lot of footage that we can draw off of. So he's a perfectionist in that way, and I'm glad he's patient in that way. So we want to make it the best we can, and I told him right now, Jesus is telling me, just take your time, make it good. So
don't cut any corners, just do it right.
Yeah, I know. I'm always in a rush, to get things done. But then that's another thing Jesus always said, slow down.
Well, if anything that Christians should learn in their walk is it's not in our time, it's in God's time.
I've had to learn that, So.
I learn it too often. I learn it too often.
Gosh. And, so I'm still learning with this movie and seeing some miraculous things, happen.
I'm looking forward to the movie being done so that we can, have a premiere, and we can have it's going to be so fun. I mean, it's like, I don't know where you guys are planning to premiere, but, Maya Cinemas are obviously, they're very friendly to that kind of thing.
Yes, you did say that. Yeah.
And it would be, super awesome. I've gone to a few, premieres of short films. I mean, but It's going to be it's going to be a spectacle, an event, and hopefully, it'll be an opportunity for some people to find Jesus.
Yes, and
because if for no other reason, that's the big one.
Yes, and there again, my intention was to make it a 20-minute film. Not sure it's going to be that or over. So we got to see, because I want to enter it in festivals again. And see what happens with that. If it's over 20 minutes, it becomes a feature film, and then you're in another category.
Right. Well, you're competing with
it's
other
not
films,
about
right?
winning anything. Again, it's about what does Jesus want us to do with it. So, but it will be a short film. So anybody that comes, it will be. Well, it's not going to take your whole day away from it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, obviously, when you enter it in a film festival, you could have a abridged version for the film festivals. It doesn't have to be the same one that you intended to show at your premiere.
That's true. Yeah.
I
think what we need to do is get the trailer made, and at least that would be the next step on, along with your filming here. To get the PR out as well.
Yeah. Well, you get that trailer made. I'll make sure people see it on this show.
Yeah. But I mean, here I'm not a professional production filmmaker. Do you know what I mean? I'm this little woman.
Now you're a writer
said,
and
hey,
producer.
Jesus, what do you want?
Don't put yourself down. You're officially a writer and producer of more than one movie.
Yes, I am. I'm a storyteller. Storyteller. But just being on the set and talking to everybody and going to the actors and actresses and what they're experiencing, and then watching the crew set up everything and all the work they were putting into this little film, I just thought, that's great. Look at all these beautiful gifts.
I kept getting tickled because it seemed like there was more crew than there were actors.
I noticed that. Yeah, it was kind of like the 12 apostles. God uses 12, right? He's 12 a lot in the Bible. So I think we had just about 12 actors and 12 crew people, definitely. And I got people right at the very end, extras. To come in, they were willing. So it just all comes together. It worked. And I could definitely feel Satan in those 2 weeks, the 2 weeks prior to filming. That's when you really see it, because everybody gets really nervous, Not everybody, but some people get nervous. They're forgetting their lines, or they're doing this, and that's just par for the course, is it not? And James, afterwards, I went over to bring him some materials to download the films and what do you call it? The driver.
Okay, the drive.
Yeah, I'm losing. I'm 74. The driver, and he looked so exhausted when he opened his front door. I said, I haven't really caught up with my sleep. He said, there's no way I'm going to catch up. I'm going on vacation soon. So he looked exhausted. But when I went in the house, he was already going through all the rushes and everything, the dailies. So I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is still working. Mm-hmm. So love for his work, love for his industry.
He did it. I wasn't there for every shoot. You know what I mean? I was only on 2 days of shooting. Yeah. Because my character wasn't a big character. It's okay. It's an important character,
though. A very important one. Yeah. Very important one.
Yeah, I like the antagonist.
You were the antagonist. But there again, you represented somebody that's real today, who has his life set out for him, and not a bad guy, really, and using your gifts in the ways you think you're supposed to. Being successful. Mm-hmm. And yet, look what happened to you. Mm-hmm. You had love in your heart. That's one thing really everybody has.
Right.
We all have love in our heart.
I enjoyed the script. You know, I mean, I agreed to do it without reading the script. You know what I mean? Because it was. Well, I mean, I roughly agreed to it, but once I read the script, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely, yeah.
There were some people that turned it down, because it's a very sensitive subject matter.
Right.
And I can appreciate that. But it's something that's close to my heart, and it's not meant to put anybody down. We're, there again, we've got two sides, and we're trying to represent both sides to say, okay, this is what they're thinking. Now, how do we come together on this?
There's nowhere in the script you make a political statement. It's more about the relationship of two sisters, and if you really look at the core story, it's a relationship of two sisters and their dynamic each other.
Yes.
And I don't want to do. I almost said a spoiler. But that's what it is. It's really the core relationship of two sisters in a dynamic.
Yeah. And one of those sisters is a feminist, but yet she's in love with this man. They're married. They have a great relationship.
Yeah, that's the guy I
play. And she's been successful. Yeah. So I mean, I show everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, I only got to see it in creation, so I'm really excited to see how it all comes out, because I didn't get to see through the lens even when it was getting always So I'm real excited to see how that goes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good. But the best part about all of it is you did it because God told you to do it. And you did it with, serving God in mind.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And so since God was in it, God's going to use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God's going to do great things with it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you saying yes to God and making sure it got to where it got. And, I'm sure you're going to make sure it gets done.
Yeah, it's going to get done.
And you know what? We have a saying on this show. And that is, you're rad for Christ. You're definitely fired up for Jesus, and we love to see that here.
Oh,
God bless you,
Leona. That's a compliment. Thank you. God bless you too, Drew. It was a pleasure being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Radical Christianity. I am so glad that you decided to take the time to come and hang out with us today. I would like to draw attention to that one person right now who's watching, who is feeling that tug on their heart. It's real important that you acknowledge that tug you feel is God telling you that you need to be part of the family of God. He's just reaching out to you. He's like knocking on that door. You know what I'm saying? If you want to open that door and let him in, it's a really easy process. All you got to do is just talk to him and just say, God, Jesus, I need you. The way I'm doing my life isn't working out. I need you to step in and help me do things better. I don't want to do it my way anymore. I want to do it your way. I want to be the person that you designed me to be. Something like that. You can say any variation of that. You can say something completely different. All it needs to do is just, accept Jesus and start to build your relationship with him with a conversation. And that's just how you have to start it. If that is something that you've done while watching this show or on a rerun of this show or something like that, we would love to know about it. And you just go to our website, radforchrist.com. That's RAD, Christ.com. And there's a form there called Got Saved. Just fill out that form. And I'll be able to send you a Bible and a little gift to show you that we're so glad that you've joined the family of God. Also on our website, you have an Ask a Question form. So if you have a question about the show, our guests, our staff, the Bible, your math homework, we're going to try and help you out with the answers. And if you have a prayer request, we also have a form on our website for that. So please fill out that prayer request so we can sit back and we can pray for what it is that you need, okay? I just want you to know that we are here to serve. And this is the most important part, and that's that Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We'll see you next week.
And I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.